Mr. Robot.
Mr. Robot? Oh. Oh.
It's not about you.
The show about me. Finally, a show about a sexy robot who is a secret agent with too many ladies to juggle, who is chopping logs in the forest when one day his pink-haired sidekick is kidnapped by ninjas, so he has to go commando and kills all the bad guys and rescues the Sports Illustrated swimsuit models from Grayskull Castle.
Not quite. This is Mr. Robot is a show about a man named Elliot Alderson. He's a software engineer by day and hacktivist by night, and he's getting involved in all these crazy hacking schemes and like elaborate shit to save the world from debt slavery.
From ninjas?
Debt slavery.
So where do the ninjas come in then?
There's no ninjas. There's
Well,
corporate sharks though.
I don't understand where the robots come in. Is he a cyborg? He discovers he's a robot later?
There's no robots in this, actually.
There's no robots? Well, this show is full of lies.
It's a little bit of a misnomer there. You're just gonna have to get past the fact that this show has nothing to do with robots or cyberbots or cyborgs.
Evil Corp, the largest conglomerate in the world, a monster of modern society.
I think you secretly hate it here.
No, I love it here.
Exciting time in the world right now. Exciting time.
So why are we talking about this show that's for some reason not about robots?
Why are we talking about Mr. Robot today? Well, it's because I happen to love this show, and I don't really like a lot of TV shows. I mean, I'm gonna be really honest with you. It's gotta be really amazing for me to like really want to talk to you about it or even watch it at all. And this show is just knocking my socks off, man. I mean, on top of the fact that it's just completely well made, like you have great directing, great acting, the scripts are amazing, the cinematography, the fucking soundtracks are fucking crazy. I want to go buy it on LP. On top of that, it's also talking about these really awesome, subversive, socially relevant ideas that like I'm super into.
Who's the main character in this show?
The main character is Elliot, played by Rami Malek, and his giant eyeballs that do half the acting for him. They're so amazing. And this character, he's very dark, okay? He's not a super likable guy. He's got paranoid delusions. He's like terribly crazy lonely, which leads him to having addiction issues. He has like court mandated, has to go see a therapist because he's kind of disturbed and like, he doesn't like to be hugged and it's weird. And he also has an imaginary friend, us, the audience, that he's talking to. And he's also an unreliable narrator. So things may not always be how they appear.
So what's wrong with this guy? Why can't he be cool like me? It's not that hard.
Well, you know, since he has such crippling social anxiety and like can't get close to people on a one-on-one, like in-person basis, he hacks people. He'll hack into their whole lives and like find out stuff because he's, you know, since he's such a genius and he can find out anything that he wants about any like company, any person, whatever, you know, and then if he finds out you're doing some bullshit, he may try to put a stop to that.
Get out of here right now, or I'll call the
Police? You want them to find out about the 100 terabytes of child pornography you served to your 400,000 users?
Because he is a good guy at the end of the day. You know, he does care. Like, even though he's dark, he wants to affect change in the world in a positive manner.
Well, I'm pretty smart. I know some facts that you don't know.
That's a little, genius is a little different than knowing facts, okay? That's, in fact, the opposite of knowing facts is
Yeah, but I know facts about spiders.
spiders.
Did you know every year 9 spiders crawl inside your air vents and lay eggs? Spiders are the real hackers, man. They can hack inside of anything.
It's because they're on the web. They invented the web.
Does he know he's a cyborg yet?
He's not a cyborg.
Well, why can't he get any friends?
Okay, well, he does have some friends. He has one friend in particular, Angela, played by Portia Doubleday, and she is a childhood friend of his. They grew up together, like in the same neighborhood. You know, they've been super homies. They both work together at All Safe. And Angela has such an amazing storyline throughout this whole situation. We'll talk more about her themes and things going on later.
I've got lots of friends.
I'm
A
sure.
whole lot.
I'm sure you do. All right, I'm sure you do. We're not talking about your friends. We're talking about Elliot's friends. Elliot is also friends or becomes friends with F Society, a group of elite hackers who are bent on taking down E Corp. You know, they want to take down all the debt that they have, erase all the debt for everybody that they're holding over the world. And yeah, and so he gets mixed up with them.
Tell me about the bad guys.
All right, well, you know, I love villains, so I have been really enjoying the antagonists in Mr. Robot. The main antagonist in Mr. Robot is E Corp, also known as Evil Corp, and it's this giant, massive, like, conglomerate, ridiculous, like, they own all the banks, they own, you know, they're just fucking massive. Think like banks plus Google. I guess that would be more the deal. First and foremost, let's talk about Tyrell Wellick and his crazy wife, Joanna. These two are so amazingly weird and horrible. He is so American Psycho. Like, he's such a Patrick Bateman type character, which I absolutely love American Psycho the movies, so I'm totally into this. This guy goes around, like, paying bums to, like, beat the shit out of them, you know, putting gloves on to, like, blow off some steam after work, okay? This guy is going to gay clubs to find other dudes within his company to, like, seduce them, have sex with them, just so while they're in the shower afterwards, he can, like, swap out their SIM card, which there might be a better way to do that, but whatever, you know, and he comes home and his wife knows about it. She's the one who wanted him to go do that. Like, that's the even crazier part. Like, the wife is in on all of this. And in fact, I think that Joanna is really the puppet master here, okay? I think that he's just kind of following her orders, but we don't know what her fucking deal is. Like, what is her end game here? Where did they come from? Did they come from the bottom? Did they come from the middle? Did they come from the top? Like, what is going on? And this guy is willing to do anything to get to the top. Okay, anything, okay? Him and his wife, they don't play by the rules of normal husband and wives and normal people, okay? Like, they will do anything to get power. Big fan of those two weirdos, especially when they go to dinners together. We have a couple of other executive villains over at Evil Corp. We have Terry Colby. First and foremost, he plays in a lot in the first season, especially with Angela. He has some really great, like, misogynistic scenes with her, you know, where he's just, like, dismissing her when they're in this meeting at All Safe. Later on, you have a scene where Angela is confronting Terry Colby in this private meeting, just the two of us, and she's asking him, you know, what do you know? Were you there when you guys decided to let this toxic leak happen? She's trying to find out some truth. And he tells her that, you know, what he's gonna tell her the answer, but what he needs her to do first is to swallow his balls, you know, open her pouty little mouth and put one ball in one cheek and then the other one's like kind of big, so you're gonna have to really stuff them in there and then ask the question again, you know? And she's just sitting there like having to like listen to this guy just say this horrible shit, okay? And this is like the easiest thing that guys go to every time when they're trying to manipulate a woman. They try to sexually degrade her, okay? And it's like, don't let it ruin your shit. And that's what I love about Angela, is that she didn't start crying about it. You know, she calmly sat there, she listened to what he had to say, and then she came back and was like, oh yeah, fuck you. No one's gonna respect you. You're gonna go to jail, or even if you don't go to jail, everyone's gonna think you're a fucking asshole. And like, that's what got him. Because like, as a chick, it's hard to deal with these crazy old dudes, man. They're nuts. They live for this weird power shit. So you go, girl. And then also we have Philip Price. Philip Price comes in more at the end of the season, but he's the one I'm really looking forward to seeing more of in season 2. All right, because this guy's the head of E Corp, all right? He is the real power. And the thing that's super nuts about this show is the way these like CEOs act at the top. Okay, there was some study done saying that like most CEOs are sociopaths, which like I totally buy that. Like I totally buy that. In fact, reminds me of a quote from one of my favorite authors, Frank Herbert, who wrote Dune, and he said, absolute power does not corrupt absolutely, but that absolute power attracts the corruptible.
Why? Because many psychopathic traits are rewarded in business. Lack of empathy, grandiose sense of self-worth, lack of remorse, shallow affect, which is an inability to experience a range of emotions. Cunning manipulative, that's another item on the checklist.
So now we're heading into spoiler territory, so if you haven't seen the show, you should probably stop watching right now. Now let's talk about the themes in Mr. Robot Season 1.
Sometimes I dream of saving the world. saving everyone from the invisible hand. One that brands us with an employee badge. The one that forces us to work for them. The one that controls us every day without us knowing it.
This show brings up a lot of ideas, a lot of problems within our society, such as, but not limited to, rampant consumerism. You also have how money pushes us to do things that we wouldn't necessarily do. And one of the primary themes of this show is the concept of economic slavery. The whole first season revolves around the idea of Elliot and F Society orchestrating a hack on Evil Corp, who owns 70% of the global consumer credit industry, thereby erasing the debt, from people. So that means taking out people's mortgages, you don't have to worry about that, your car loans, your student loan debt, your credit cards, all of that shit, in the most massive redistribution of wealth the world has ever seen. Like, that's fucking awesome. I wish they would do that in our world. Cause the cost of living, keeps going up, right? Rent and food and shit. But then, how much you're getting paid at work doesn't seem to be going up to, match that shit. So then you're gonna have to get in debt just to survive, It's a rigged game, and we're gonna lose. Personally, I have a lot of student loan debt, along with, almost everybody I know. So this shit just seems to be getting just worse and worse. And just this year, it's been announced that the top richest 1% have just as much wealth as the entire 99% of the people on the earth.
On the earth?
Yeah, on the earth. Welcome to Earth. You're in debt. That's what happens when babies pop out.
Here is the actual distribution of wealth in America. The poorest Americans don't even register. Only the top 10% are better off. And the top 1%? This guy? Well, his stack of money stretches 10 times higher than we can show.
Let's see what happens. Let's see how taut we can pull that string, rich people, before it just snaps and everything fucking falls apart. It is an energy source. Money is the world's energy source, okay? Just like blood in a body, right? And if all the blood in your body is in one part of your body, one small part of your body, and the rest of your body isn't getting it, well, then, those parts of your body are going to start shutting down because you need those. It's an energy source. So that's what's kind of going on with our money today from my perspective is, you have a very small amount of people who have all the money, and then the rest of the people don't have any money, and then shit's getting all fucked up because, there's not enough energy sources for everybody to go around because it's being hoarded.
Well, what do you think we should do, Mr. Smarty Pants? I know everything about everything.
Look, I'm not an economist, okay? I don't claim to be, but I do know that there has to be a better way to do this, all right? There's got to be a better way, like in Star Trek, all right? They figured it out. They figured out a way to live without money, and it's great. It's resource-based economy.
How much does this thing cost?
The economics of the future is somewhat different. You see, money doesn't exist in the 24th century.
No money? You mean you don't get paid?
The acquisition of wealth is no longer the driving force in our lives. We work to better ourselves and the rest of humanity.
I think that there are people who would know how to do that, and I would like to see them figure it out, and let's try a new system, because this shit's fucked up. All right, I think you can all agree with me. I think we can all agree, even if you don't agree with me that we should get rid of money, whatever. I'm sure you can fucking agree with me that your shit's probably fucked up, because mine's fucked up. And I don't know anyone who's just just having a great time rolling the dough. Unless you're in the 1%, if you're one of the 12 people who have all the money. I don't want to live in some crazy mansion, need a yacht and all this shit, I just want to be able to do my job and put my money back into the show and create more stuff, that's my goal. I don't need the 2-car garage or the picket fence or check that bullshit off the list, because that's an illusion too.
That's what all this is about. A lot has changed in the past 300 years. People are no longer obsessed with the accumulation of things. We have eliminated hunger, want, the need for possessions. We've grown out of our infancy.
You've got it all wrong. It has never been about possessions. It's about power.
Power to do what?
To control your life, your destiny.
That kind of control is an illusion.
If you see our logo, that means you can rest assured that you are buying the best food, clothing, shelter, transportation, hygiene, electronics, and life's necessities that money can buy.
So are corporations like Evil Corp really evil?
I think evil is a very simplistic term, okay? We live in a very complex reality, a lot of moving parts here, okay? So let's ditch the good and evil, and let's talk about the realities of the situation. I like to think of the things that Frank Herbert's taught me in his Dune books, because he talks a lot about power and manipulation and like institutions and bureaucracies and things like that. And the things that he always comes back to is that power in itself, is not corrupt, okay? It's not evil, but that the larger an institution grows, the more power that it has, the more susceptible it is to being corrupted, okay? Because corruptible people are attracted to power. That being said, there's a lot of problems within corporations today that make them seem evil. You have, your profit imperative, where you have to make as much money as you can constantly, and that's the deal. It's never enough, it's never going to stop. So they will do anything to increase their profits, even fucked up shit, and especially stuff in the short term, because they have shareholders that they answer to, and they have to show that they have made a profit every single quarter, or else they will get fired and they will find somebody else to fill that role who will do the fucked up things that maybe the other person didn't want to do. And then on top of that, you also have the growth imperative, where you have to constantly be growing, right? But nobody constantly grows. Nobody's immortal, things eventually decay and die, but these companies are going to do anything they can to just continue to grow and grow and grow and grow.
Corporations are people, my friend.
And here's the thing, businesses aren't people. Okay, even though the courts may disagree with me here, they're not people. They don't have a heart, they don't have ethical guidelines, okay? They're completely amoral, which leads to them, exploiting systems, looking for loopholes. If they can't get something made for this sort of price, they'll go somewhere else and exploit some other people to make it on the way, way, way cheap so they can maximize their profits. They'll evade, unions of workers. And one of the most fucked up things going on is the lobbying situation, all right? These friggin' companies have so much money, and they can just dump money on these politicians and be like, hey, I need you to change this law so I can do this thing so my company can keep growing. And then these people are like, okay, cool, let me take that money, and I have a nice summer house in the Hamptons now! Yeah! Modern corporations have no limitations and unlimited power. And the thing is, it didn't always used to be like this, all right? Our founding fathers, when they came into power, they were like, hey, we gotta have limitations. You can only get so big. You can only be in power for so long, all this other shit. And most importantly, they were like, you can't influence the government with your money. You can't lobby and do shit like that. But then around the turn of the century, we had the Industrial Revolution, happen. And then, man, that changed everything. All these robber baron motherfuckers, Rockefeller assholes, fucking Vanderbilt, whatever the fuck, they just did whatever they wanted. That was it's so funny to me. It's really funny to me because I look back at the last turn of the century, from the 18 to the 1900s, and how fucked up it was and how they're exploiting labor and poor people and doing those fucked up shit. They had little kids putting their hands and fucking sewing machine things to fix them, looms and shit. But now we're doing the exact same thing on a fucking crazy, much bigger level, on a crazy global level. I mean, you have a whole factory city in China where people just live and are born there and wake up there, and then they go to school there and they work there and they die there. This is the thing. We keep thinking that oh, we're past all this fucked up shit. It's we're not. We just put it somewhere else in another country, and so we can hide it from ourselves so we don't have to deal with it. Swept it under the rug. It's fucked up, man. We gotta figure out some better shit. There's gotta be a better way. One thing that's even brought up in Mr. Robot, which is something that I've thought a lot about, how we have the illusion of choice. Instead of having just a monopoly where you can only buy one thing from one person, they give you two options, right? It's Verizon or AT&T. Oh, which they're both gonna fuck you in the ass, is it gonna be Comcast or Time Warner? You're gonna get fucked either way. You're gonna do Pepsi or Coke. You're gonna get cancer either way. Democrat or Republican. They're all assholes. It doesn't matter. It's fake. It's fake. These are still monopolies. I mean, just because there's two doesn't mean that that's still fucked up, all right? Especially because they're so massive that they can just swallow up all the competition. They don't have these moral obligations at all. I mean, their only obligation is to survive. And in order to do that, in order to compete with other giant corporations, they'll do fucked up shit. They'll do it because they have to, because that's what everybody's doing.
My friend Bobo said that you are a communist, a dirty commie, and you hate capitalism, so you're a communist.
You know, that's just you're trying to label me and put me in a box, baby, because you know what? I think that communism is the other side of the coin of capitalism. They're both corrupt and fucked up, and we gotta try some new shit like Star Trek Future. And like, that's just what people say when they're like scared and like group think, you know, they just, anyone who threatens capitalism, because we've been ingrained with like capitalism is good, you know. It's like, yeah, it's worked okay for now, you know, but don't tell me there's not a better, like, don't tell me that we can't do things better. God damn it. Am I the only one who like thinks that we can try new things? You know, Frank Herbert was saying in this fucking deal, he was saying in this interview that when we first started our government, it was called the Great Experiment. You know, the Great Experiment, because all the other governments like, what the fuck? This is some new weird shit. You know, like we used to be new and awesome, right? But then like somewhere along the way, we just decided to just stick with all this shit. And like, isn't the point of an experiment to like try things? And if they fail, then to like tweak that and like do something differently, you know? That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm about.
My friend Bobo says that you're a hypocrite because he saw you at Starbucks. And he says that you have an iPhone, and you're wearing clothes that all were made by corporations.
Fuck, who is this fucking Bobo character? Anyways, you gotta stop hanging out with him. The deal is, as I said earlier, corporations aren't evil. Like, we need products, we need stuff, like, you know, things that are helpful, yeah, great. But, you know, we just need it to where it's not completely unethical and unchecked and, like, our whole, you know, world is going to be ruined because they're just dumping all this toxic waste somewhere they shouldn't be dumping it, okay? That's all I'm saying. We just need to be a little bit more chill, all right? Corporations need to chill and be more cool about stuff. But that's like a spiritual thing, though, you know? That's, like, the whole thing is, like, our society is spiritually bankrupt, you know? So how do you expect the people leading these corporations to not be spiritually bankrupt, you know? It's like we don't... You know, philosophy, ethics, these things aren't taught to children or in schools or anything, really. But these things are taught in the Star Trek future, where I want to go live in that Star Trek future. So at the end of season 1, we find out that the hack was totally successful, that they have erased the debt. We don't know exactly how it happened. We don't know all the particulars, and I can't wait to find out more next season of what exactly happened. Where is Tyrell Wellick? Like, what the fuck is going on? But you see all the people, they're fucking partying, they're having a great time, they're wearing the F Society masks, they're organizing in Times Square, like they're waking up, and I cannot wait to see what happens next season, okay? Because as much as I love Fight Club, okay, Fight Club's great, right? But then you get to the point where they explode, they do a very similar situation where the debt has been cleared, you know, whatever. But we never see, like, how that affects everyone, you know? And it's like, that's what I want to know. Like, what does this change exactly? Like, what does this mean for everyone? I don't exactly know how this will affect everybody. And I would love to see how it's going to affect everyone in the show. And I'd love to see how it would affect everybody in our reality, or what that would look like.
Hey, it's either suits like me or the government. We all know how well they handle things.
Why can't the world just take care of itself?
And I think it's really great, something that Darlene says. She asked the question, you know, why can't the world just take care of itself? You know, and I think that that's a really interesting question because I am a bit of an idealist, I admit it. And there's a part of me that's like, yes, why can't we just take care of ourselves? You know, like we can do that. We have the power to do that. We have that if we wanted it. But the realist part of my brain, because I also have that part, is like, we're not mature enough as a society. We're not mature enough, like, spiritually to really handle that and do that correctly. So, you know, how does this bode for everybody? I mean, in certain ways, yes, it is a plus, but I'm sure there's also going to be drawbacks for this, you know, and because every time there is some sort of big push forward in society, anytime someone's pushing forward and successfully does something, there's always a push back. And in the after credits season of the finale, we get an extra new layer to this insane plot. you have a guy driving up to the Eyes Wide Shut house, another Kubrick reference, oh my God. And he goes inside and he sits down by Mr. Price, which I love that his name is Mr. Price, the head of Evil Corp. And they're having a conversation, and we find out that this person is White Rose, okay? White Rose is not just the leader of the Dark Army of China, or is he even that at all? Like, everything's turned on its head now, okay? And that he's a part of this fucking power elite, because this isn't like an Evil Corp fucking house, okay? This is like the power elite Illuminati house, where like the top of governments and all these fucking people hang out. And like, they aren't even stressing about this shit, because the 1% of the 1%, they don't give a fuck. They live in another reality than the rest of us, okay? And so they're talking. Mr. Price is like, fuck, I just want to sit here and I want to listen to this fucking music, because you have this lady playing a harp, right? And so then that prompts White Rose to say to him, you know, this story, you know, this allegory of like Nero, you know, Nero, the emperor of Rome, who is said to be playing his lyre while Rome burned. Okay, well, what does that say to me? Like, what does that mean? That's a loaded fucking thing to say to somebody, okay? Back in the day, all right, you had the Roman Empire. Nero was the emperor of this Roman Empire, and at one point, he had some fucking plans, okay? He wanted to rebuild like big parts of the city and like do some fucking different shit, but the Senate was like, fuck you, Nero, like you can't do that, you know, like that's we're not gonna let you do that. And so he may or may not have, nobody knows, had people set fire to large parts of the city in order to burn it down, so that now he could circumvent that Senate in order to rebuild shit the way he wanted to build it, okay? So what that says to me is that White Rose is saying that Mr. Price had some sort of plan that he wanted to do. The other Illuminati power elites were like, you can't fucking do that. And in order to do what he wanted to do, he allowed this hack to happen so he could build a new system where he's more powerful, you know? And here's another thing. I don't know how much these two are in cahoots, you know? They may be somewhat in cahoots, but the way they were talking to one another, I felt like Mr. Price has no idea that this dude helped Elliot, but I don't know for sure. And I don't know if this guy's really a part of the Dark Army. I don't fucking know, okay? Like, and that's what's great about this show.
I believe the plan is to blow up the headquarters of these credit card companies and the TRW building.
Why these buildings? Why credit card companies?
If you erase the debt record, then we all go back to zero.
And Sam Esmail is taking these amazing ideas from Fight Club that just end, right? We see like, oh, they saved the day, all the debt's gone. But we don't see what happens after that. Like, how does that change the whole world? And this show is building upon that idea. And now we're gonna actually see the ramifications of something that happens like that. Like, it's insane. Like, there's so many twists and turns. There's so many layers. Such a fantastic show. I'm so fucking pumped for Mr. Robot Season 2.
Well, yeah, they better get some robots in Season 2 or I'm not watching it.
Yeah, Skynet's happening, and Mr. Price wants to build Skynet, and that's the fucking thing. And then Terminators are gonna happen next season. Sure, why not? Some ninjas are gonna be in it, maybe. Just keep watching, Robot, and find out.
Yay!
And I'm so excited to announce that Evil Corp is not gonna buy this girl out, because we are now being funded by the people on Patreon. You guys are the best. I wanna give a big shout out to my first 5 super patrons: James Holzrichard, John Connolly, John Redford, Tyrese, and Plyosan. You guys are awesome. And yeah, I'm so excited. If you guys don't know what Patreon is, it is a way for you guys to help support the free content that you love. You can donate a small monthly fee for however long you want, and you get some sweet perks, get some insider information of what we're gonna do next.
Where do I go?
You go to www.patreon.com/comicbookgirl19. And don't forget to let me know in the comments below how you guys feel about Mr. Robot Season 2 coming up. Well, now, whose storyline are you the most interested in? Like, what do you think Mr. Price is really up to? Give me your fan theories. I want to hear them, because, like, I don't know, man. This shit's gonna be nuts this season. And also, don't forget to subscribe to this channel, like my video, and you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook.